so happy to see so many of you students, huh? This won't make up for in-class tests. This is pure joy today. But certainly I'm happy to see that so many of you have been able to find some time to be with us today as we begin to explore a subject that pertains to all of us, you see. The common feature that we all participate in as human beings is that we are all having problems and are searching for ways to resolve such problems. I am reminded of a story from ancient African days about a farmer who had heard much about the Asar Patah Hotel. For those of you who are not familiar with the term Asar, it was a term used in ancient Kemetic and Egyptian times, and much the same way that the word Buddha is used. Buddha means the enlightened one. And whenever in ancient Africa a man or woman had attained enlightenment, they were oftentimes referred to as Asar. So this farmer then had heard about the great sage and great teacher, Asar Patah, and had decided to seek him out. The farmer, like everybody else, had many problems. And he thought, who better to help him find a way to resolve his problems than this great sage, Asar Patah. When he came to the great master, he began by telling the great master, Master, he says, I am a farmer. And I love farming. But my problem, you see, is that sometimes it does not rain enough. And my crop fails. In fact, last year, my family almost starved to death because of this. And he said, and again, sometimes it rains too much. And again, the crop fails. The Asar Patah silently and patiently continued to listen to the farmer's lamentations. He continued, and you know, I have a wife. And I love her very much. But she nags me too much. Sometimes I get tired of that nagging. Some of you can identify. Sometimes I become too frustrated with all of that nagging, and so I leave home for a few days, hanging out in the village, in the taverns, and being with loose women, and then I am filled with great guilt and remorse. He continues. And you know, of course, having a wife, then naturally I have children. They're good kids, but the problem is that they are not very respectful. Sometimes they go too far. Still, the great Asaf Patahotel continued to listen. For hours, the farmer went on. And you know, I got brothers and sisters in my family. Now let me tell you about my problems with them. So forth and so on. You can imagine. Finally, as he wound down, he waited now for those words that will be uttered by the great sage that will help him straighten this life of his out, to resolve and solve his personal problems. Finally, the Asar Patahotel replied, brother, I am sorry, but I can't help you. The farmer was astonished. What do you mean you can't help me? I have gone through all of this trouble and have spent all these many hours under the assumption that you, being the wise and great sage that you are, surely you will be able to help me solve my myriads of personal problems. The great Asar said, brother, everybody like you have problems. You're not the only one. And even if you're able to solve one problem, then another one immediately pops up and replaces it. In fact, he said, you and everyone else like you have 83 fixed problems that you will have all the days of your life. And in any case, you're going to die. And that is a problem for which there is no remedy. Now the farmer simply became furious. He said, then what good is this asadhamma? Dhamma means those sets of teachings and insights that the Asars and the Buddha articulate for the benefit of suffering humanity. He said, then what good is this asadhamma of yours if it cannot help me solve these problems? The Blessed One reply was, brother, maybe it will help you solve the 84th problem that you will have. He said, what is this 84th problem? The great mystic said, the 84th problem that you are having is you trying to not have problems in the unconscious state of an ignorant condition that you are in. We are all like this farmer. It is because that we are in a state of unconsciousness and profound ignorance that we are having problems in the first place. Hence, there is simply no way to solve problems as long as you are abiding in that condition that is ignorance and unconsciousness. Are you following me?
Yes.
There is simply no solution. You are doomed by definition of your condition to always have 84 problems going on in your life until the day you die. So today, we will therefore make an effort to try to come into some kind of profound understanding, to become involved in a very deep investigation of the nature of your personal problems. The very first thing that we must do pertaining to dealing with and coping with problems is you must investigate the very nature and mechanism underlying the phenomenology that is your problem. Are you following me?
Yeah.
It is interesting. If you do not know the causes of problems, how will you solve? Interesting. And if you do not investigate, how to have the knowledge that will liberate you. So today I will invite you to join me in this yoga of consideration as we take a look at some of the most fundamental aspects pertaining to dealing with your personal problems. And before we begin, I must ask you first for your definition of a problem. What is a problem? We've already seen the problems with problems is that they are insoluble at the level and state of awareness and consciousness that we are in. But even so, still there's much to be had by taking a close look now at what is a problem? What are the precise psycho-emotional dynamics underlying and fueling the generation and experience of problems? What is a problem? You've had a lot of problems. What are problems? Every day you've been having problems as far back as you can remember. What is a problem? When you say you have a problem, what are you precisely talking about? What is then the nature of a problem? What is it? When we peel it down, and I like the house guests to defer to our guests here, because you've been reading my books. You're showing off in me. Yes, sir.
I thought you was asking us a question.
I am asking you a question. What is a problem?
A problem is a burden that needs to be solved.
A burden that needs to be solved. All right. Anybody else? Yes?
Any situation or any situation you cannot control or cope with.
Or cope with. All right. I like that. Anybody else like to venture a definition of problem? And remember, hold a problem in the palm of your hand and look at it. Answer this question from the perspective of actually looking at a problem you are having. Don't go intellectual. Yes, Brother Ron.
I would say it's a disruptive force that disturbs like your personal status quo.
What, like that? We can make some gravy out of that. All right, let's make gravy to what Brother Ron has proposed. Problem is the feeling or feeling of profound dissatisfaction. You know what you're talking about, don't you? Dissatisfaction with some present aspect of reality. Right now, right? right here. Thus, and thereby, impulsively seeking relief from this condition. Now, it is not a complete definition, but it's one we can begin with. We will now begin to unpack it and pull out of it all of this wisdom. When you are having a problem, fundamentally, you are having the feeling of a very profound dissatisfaction with some or a single aspect of reality, present reality, right here, right now. And the impulse to bring an ending to that dissatisfaction. May we work with that as a beginner's definition?
Yeah.
All right? Let's unpack some of it. Feelings. Do you all have your thing? Because I won't remember any of this. Of course, you know that. Those who've been around. So don't ask me for this definition again. But certain things we want to begin to look at. What are some of the feelings, then, underlying the condition that is your problem? Let's unpack. What are some of the part of the constellation of feelings that are underlying?
Anger.
Okay. Who said that? Oh, you don't get many points for that. You know, you teach this stuff. Anger. Anger. And why is the anger there?
Because I can't find the answer.
What else? Frustration. Oh, yeah. And frustration is simply the feeling of anger plus the feeling of students. Lillian, frustration is anger plus the feeling of being
Worthless.
well, not worthless too, but powerless.
Powerless.
That's right. So yes, there's some frustration because definitely when you're having a problem, you're feeling fundamentally, and for no other moment, temporarily powerless. Are you not?
Yes.
That's part of the pain of it all. What are some of the other feelings? And more specifically, what are your feelings? What are your feelings? Your precise feelings? Because you have to, as I go through this, investigate those feelings and the nature of those feelings underlying your problems. Yes, brother? Oh, I like that. A lot of confusion, bewildered, right? Not knowing what to do, right? Girl, can you help me? Right? I don't know what to do. Yes. Just shout it out. Fear. Oh, I love that. Tremendous fear. Not knowing what to do, one loses one feeling of safety and security. Are you following the sister? And this feeling of safety and security is critical for your sense of well-being, is it not? In fact, you are always at all times involved in activities aimed toward the generation and the experience of safety and security. Absolutely right. Yes, sir?
Overwhelmed.
Oh, yes, overwhelmed. Overwhelmed. Yes. Yes, sister.
Is guilt?
Guilt can be there. Sure, why not? Tina.
Depression?
Very good. That's my daughter. My kid. Depression. Depression is one of the most common response that we have when we're having a problem. We get depressed. Yes, brother.
Would insecurity be?
Definitely, insecurity is there. We got frustration.
Loneliness.
Who said that?
Loneliness.
All right, loneliness. Sadness, right? Sorrow.
Despair.
Despair. Oh, now you guys know. Now we get it. But begin to take a look at this. I want you to unpack it because you must be able to become conscious of the feelings underlying the problem. The problem is not the problem. It's the condition and feelings that triggered in you. Anxiety, absolutely. Because now you don't know when this thing will end. Right? Great anxiety arises. You don't know how it happened, you don't know how to deal with it, and you don't know when it will end. Right? And when you start feeling that it may happen again any minute now, you have a panic attack, right? So panic attacks goes in there. Right?
Bitterness.
Of course, bitterness. That's part of the anger response, isn't it? You bitter about it. Why me? Lord, why me? Why have these kind of problems? Now, we have a single term that I would like to borrow from the Buddhist tradition that sums up all of these feelings. The word is dukkha. Suffering. Suffering. And it is this condition of suffering that characterizes your life. Because you are trapped in the cycle of 84 problems. Just cycling. You're always and continuously in a state of dissatisfaction. Are you following me? Yeah. Feel deeply into yourself. Feel very deeply into yourself. And what you will feel is this continuous and always present feeling of dissatisfaction with at least one thing that is pertaining to your present, right here, right now condition and reality. Yes, brother?
As far as is there a cycle that, in order to alleviate the problem, like far as prevent the actual problem, is it a cycle that the problem, first you have to deactivate the event, that's the problem, to try to somewhat overt get to the feeling aspect?
Yes, that in fact is the impulse, isn't it? We will speak on that a little later as we begin to unpack the rest of the definition, but you're moving in the right direction. Let's draw out some of these other things before we leave. So it is this feeling of profound, this dukkha, right? That is associated with some aspect of your present, right here, right now reality. And these aspects of reality are made up of different things. This is interesting. What are some of the aspects of your right now, right here, present reality that is the basis of your dukkha? One is people. The survey said the number one, right, people, right, things, events, situations, keep calling them out, circumstances, expectations will come up later. House person. Even that will come. That's getting into the metaphysical dimension. And we will build there, so we will take our time. Since you've taken the time to come this morning, we're going to take our time and unpack it. Because who knows, you may not be able to again encounter the asadama in its arguments. So I want you to take your time as we involve ourselves in this yoga of great consideration. But certainly these aspects of reality that tends to trigger the experience that is problem, these are very often the triggering events, right? We will come back to that in a moment. What I want you to begin to see, beloveds, is that the ordinary and day-to-day condition of the usual man and woman is one of simply unabating dukkha at some level of their
Brother Bhagwan, you said about the 83 problems out of 84 problems. Is that homogeneous in all of us?
It is homogeneous in all unenlightened people. It is the defining characteristic of unenlightened people.
That's right.
That includes Buddhas. Now, let us continue because there's much to say. Much more to say. We're just beginning. The inherent condition and circumstance of manifest existence is one of suffering. This much you must see. This much you must see. Now, that being the case, we want to begin to look at a second thing. Now that you have seen the first thing, which is dukkha. You must actually see dukkha. You must see the dukkha. You must see the dukkha. You must see it as clearly as if it was sitting in the palm of your hand. You must see that. This much awareness you must attain. Seeing that, you need to now find out how is that dukkha arising. We needed to know what is this problem, this dukkha, right? But the feelings are underlying, but now you need to know how is it that you're having problems in the first place? How is it that you are having problems in the first place? What is the mechanism underlying the genesis and formation of your own problems? From where are they coming? And how are they coming into being? So we want to begin to take a look at the phenomenology of problems. Are you following me?
Yes.
Okay. What is the phenomenology of it? How are they arising? Now, I want you to do a little exercise with me. I want you to, for a moment, bring some problem to your present focus. All right? You can choose any one from among 84. Any one you like. Any one of your 84 problems. Just make yourself very conscious of it now. I want you to now examine this. And here's what I want you to do. When this is that, or that equal problem is. All right? I want you to look at it now. When this is that, where that is a problem, is. When this arises, that which you are calling a problem arises. The exercise is, what is this? You have approximately 2 minutes to finish the problem. What is this? When it arises, when this arises, that which is a problem arises. What is this? What is this? See this. See this. Because you must see this. What is this? Concentrate. What is this? Feel. When you are feeling this profound dissatisfaction that is a problem, what preceded that feeling? What is it that that feeling is dependently connected to? What is the etiology, the causality of it? What are its causes? How will you deal with your problems if you don't know what caused the problem in the first place? How will you do that? How is that going to happen? You must simply become capable of seeing. Not armchair philosophizing, right? Not psychologizing, right? Seeing, which is an act of intelligence. What have you seen? Who have seen something? No house people. Yes, he loves it.
The thwarting of your will.
The
The thwarting
All
of
right, I like that. I like that. The violation of your will to do something. I like that. Who else have seen what this is that precedes in a dependent way the rising of every problem that you will have? Someone have seen something else? Remember, unless you can see, there's simply no possibility for you. Unless you can actually see this, then you are doomed, beloved. Now let's get this clear. I am not talking about some kind of arbitrary ability that you can or cannot develop. Not that important, because if I can't see, so what? No. If you cannot see, you will suffer even more. What is this thing? Yes, Priscilla.
When I don't utilize proper understanding the knowledge that I'm aware of to whatever it is, it creates a problem.
Elaborate.
It's like I know certain things in terms of understanding, like say human nature and people's nature, and know the proper understanding from a spiritual point. And when I don't think in that manner,
When you don't
and when I
think or don't
accept
act in that
and
manner.
act in that manner, then it creates a problem.
When you violate your own intelligence.
Okay.
When you violate your own intelligence, you always have a problem on the horizon. Is that about right? What else? What else? See for me. See for me. Because remember, nobody can see for you. Nobody can see into your subjectivity and the dynamics going on intrapsychically. Can't see it. Therefore, they can't help you. How can they help you? How can they point out to you that which they, by definition, cannot see? And if you cannot see it, then you simply remain trapped in the uninterrupted experience of dukkha from morning, noon to night, whether asleep or awake, even when you dream you suffer. That's profound. Is that profound, brother? Suffering becomes the part and parcel of your entire human experience. It never lets up. You never know a moment of relief from it. You must see this thing. Who have seen something else? Yes?
Resistance.
Resistance. Oh, yeah. Resistance is there. Whenever you resist reality, you will create a problem for yourself.
Or what about what I expect others to do?
Oh, now. Expectations. That's where we come in. We want to put an asterisk sign right there. Yes, bro.
Seeking perfection.
Seeking perfection. That's again a kind of expectation. So let's wrap it in there. What else, bro?
This might be it also. Fantasizing.
Fantasizing is the way we console ourselves. But I see your point. Yeah. Fantasizing. It relocates you out of reality. Right? When you fantasize it, you're not here, right now. Are you following me? Fantasy is a flight from the domain of reality, right? Although such a flight, ontologically and existentially speaking, is never possible, because you are always at all time right here, right now. It's just that your mind is not here. Right? Therefore, you cannot make any use of the right here, right now. You cannot live and stand in this present condition because you are distracted via your attention with fantasies. We will talk much about that, brother, because the correction of that fault in your mental operation is the precise aim that is meditation and spiritual cultivation. One last one. Yes, good now.
How about the feeling of failure?
Feeling of failure. When you have a feeling of failure, is that what precedes the problem? Sometimes because when you fail, it reveals something about you, right? Failure leads to a kind of revelation about yourself. And you've been thinking that you can't fail, or that you have all this intelligence, that you know what you are doing. And then you fail. And the problem is, some truth ushers in that otherwise you had not made room for. And now you got a problem with dealing with the truth. Right? Failure, your failure of your ego activity causes you to encounter some truth about yourself that becomes problematic because you're not capable of functioning out of the truth of faith. We'll come to that. Very good. What I think, though, we'll try to do is condense this into a principal core mechanism underlying. What is this? This is desire. Please make a note. Huh? What is this? This is desire. When desire arises, problems arise. Right? Are you following me?
Yes, sir.
This desire. And I want to unpack it. Desire in the sense of wanting reality to be other than what it is. Are you with me?
Yes.
This wanting reality or some aspect of reality to be other than it is right now, right here, is the mechanism underlying the arising of every problem you are having. Are you with that? Can you get it? Because this is critical. you must locate the origin and source of your problems. And when you do that, when you find and locate the origin and ground of all of your problems, they're coming from where? They're in you. You are the ones generating the desire. Is that about right?
Yeah.
It is your own activity. Problems are self-inflicted suffering. Problems are your self-inflicted pain. Problems are not happening from somewhere out there. Problems are the result of your desiring present, right here, right now, reality to be any way other than it is. You see, you want dogs to suddenly stop biting. Right? Simply it's not going to happen. You want accidents to stop happening. Loved ones to stop dying. Bodies stop getting sick. That is not going to happen. And you are only desiring otherwise because you cannot see things as they really are. What I call asdamo, sanintano. You cannot see things as they really are. And therefore, you can't get into what our ancestors call ma'at. You are always in isfis, a state of disorder, disharmony, pain, suffering, dukkha, profound dissatisfaction, confusion, bewilderment, full of sorrows, anger, bitterness. Yes, David.
So are you saying essentially that I'm allowing my own mind to play tricks on me?
I am simply saying that you are creating desire for reality to be other than the way it is at any point in the present moment. That activity that you are involved in is the basis of your own. And this you simply must see. Now, I cannot argue you to that point. I will not even try to involve you in some kind of line of reasoning and so forth and so on. Because that would take too long. You simply must see this thing. You must see it. You must absolutely develop the capacity to see. Because it is this inability to see that keeps you trapped in that condition. Is that right, Laverne?
Yes,
You see it now?
I see it.
All right. You want to see the light? Hallelujah! One person got it. All right. It's not been in vain then, this long drive in. That is the second thing that I want you to deeply consider. Do not be persuaded by my arguments. My knowledge is my knowledge. You must make this your knowledge. And the only way you can do that is that you must simply see. You cannot borrow this kind of understanding. You cannot get it from books. You can read books to the end of time. This kind of knowing is not even available through the intellectual process. It must be seen. In the East, they talk about meditation. It's interesting. The word for meditation that is used in the East is dhyan. Dhyan means to see. Meditation is arriving in that state of consciousness where you can now see things as things really are and then respond appropriately out of that seeing. Are you with me? Problems at another level is the failure for you to respond appropriately to reality. Whenever you respond respond inappropriately to reality out of your inability to see things as things really are, you will experience the state that we have been calling a problem and the suffering that is associated with it. Are you following me?
Yes.
So whenever you are feeling, I got a problem, know right then and there that you are out of my. Know right then and there that you are out of sync with reality. And if you have a lot of problems, like some of you people, then you know your condition. And so you cannot deceive. You can go undenied to others. Well, you know, I don't have no problem. But that is just your mythology. That's your ego mythology. That's the kind of myth that you have created. It is a mechanism of defense. Because when you cannot find way to really transcend the dissatisfaction and suffering and dukkha underlying the problematic condition, when you really cannot get out of that feeling state, what you do, you console yourself. You anesthetize yourself, and lying becomes one of the principal means by which you console yourself. You simply lie to yourself. Deny it. No, everything's fine, I don't have no problem. Now you're full of problems. They oozing all out of you. The seer simply laughs at you because they can see the problem just all coming all out of your skin. They're all over your face. But you are in denial as a principal strategy of consoling your condition. Just below.
Yes, it seems that if you get to the point where you can master it, because I'm looking at African Americans as a whole and how we respond to death. And that death is a part of part of life.
Yes.
And then we go to funerals, we act up, we can cut up.
Yeah.
And being able to understand that so it's just I'm just listening to what you're saying. If we understood death, then it won't be so proven and how.
It takes all of the terror out. Death is problematic and painful only because you cannot see that that is how things really are. Everything dies. You simply have not seen it, so you're shocked. Oh, he died. Where is the shock coming from? The shock that you feel is arising out of a very profound state of unconsciousness in you. Death is a part of life. They are a team. Tag team. Tag team. Asdamo sanentano. Nací and stand free. You see? But you cannot stand free if you do not see it. You cannot be liberated by any means other than dhyana. See, attain the state that is meditation. There is simply no way out of it. Simply no way out of it. And my whole effort here is to somehow convict you of that. To engage you in this yoga of consideration to the point of your own conviction about it. Because you must be convicted about it. It must be your seeing. We'll continue. So now we have seen then the very mechanism underlying and fueling the whole entire process and experience of problems that we are having in our life. We're able to see that these problems are fundamentally arising out of my generating desires for reality to be other than it is right now, right here. And then inappropriately responding out of that ignorance. And the triggering event may be your failure to see the reality of a particular person that you are in relationship with right now. We will talk a little bit about that because as we unfold the series, we will begin to look at this process of what now we will call making Maya. Maya means illusion, right? We make Maya. We make an illusion. And then we respond to that illusion. We superimpose the illusion onto reality. What we do, we take the single factual event of reality out of desiring and out of ignorant desiring, we create some kind of story or substitute reality, right? And replace the actual reality with that. And then we react to our story. This is what you do. See it. See it. I know you don't want to see it, but you must see it. You must become temporarily free enough from your own ego mythology and vanity and all of this nonsense that you have created about yourself as it pertains to your intelligence and so forth and so on and your great knowledge. See. Drop that stuff. See this thing. And stand back to freedom. There is simply no other way. As long as you cling into your so-called knowledge, your Maya, you are simply done. Yes, beloved.
Because this thing, what you're saying now, I'm thinking about when you go back into history and African American and their suffering, and when we were robbed there because blacks, we had to survive based off, not, we couldn't think about the factual part.
Right,
Because it was
you have to create narrative.
Yes, sir.
Now, in another series of workshops, and I hope you're on the mailing list that I will try to make available to you all, our series of workshops dealing with managing and overcoming post-traumatic racism disorders. Okay? And I'm not going to talk about it today. Now, there is a whole clinical approach to dealing with post-traumatic racism disorders that must be understood, and most black people today on the planet need to become subjected to that kind of therapy. Now you have, like in all other kinds of disorders, clinical disorders, you have post-traumatic racism disorder at the level of psychosis. All right, psychosis. That's just simply that black person who has been traumatized by racism to the extent that he cannot even, he don't even know he's black. He's in an autistic condition. You know? He's autistic, trapped. And the treatment mode for any kind of autism, psychosis at the degree of autism, is not argument. It is not teaching. Because there's simply not enough presence to be taught. There's no awareness. You can't teach them about being black. They don't even know they're black. No, nothing at all.
What do you mean by that?
They don't know they're black culturally, historically. And some, like a few famous entertainers, don't even know it physically. In any case, the autistic degree of this post-traumatic racism disorder is such that it cannot be treated with any kind of uncovering strategy. Those therapists in here are following me, and we'll end it shortly. I think we'll say a few things about it so that you can determine whether you will be interested in accessing that level of training. That's a whole nother level, folks. Right? It requires first that you can see. The autistic and psychotic conditions that result from post-traumatic racism syndrome can only be approached through processes of pharmacology and pacification in the form of custodial care. Those are the only known ways to deal with that condition. Some black people who have suffered from post-traumatic racism disorder at the borderline level, right? They have some sense, but they can't distinguish themselves from white people. You see? There's a kind of fusion. They don't know where black ends and white begins and vice versa. They're fused and confused. They are borderline, right? They lack structure, right? They have to be built up. No question, Tina, you're going to take it back to work and use this information. What?
You can use that with like Hispanics, like if I'm Hispanic, who
Sure.
rather identify themselves as being white than being
Sure.
Hispanic.
Sure, any minority group that has suffered from racism will tend to display these same sets of disorders and degrees of that disorder. And of course you have the psychoneurotic. The psychoneurotic condition that has resulted from post-traumatic racism disorder simply creates in that individual the suppression of their blackness. They're aware they're black, but they suppress it. They split it off. They alienate themselves from it because it has been labeled as being bad by the architects of white supremacy. And so you're trying to split off from yourself that part of yourself that the culture has deemed bad. So you become schizophrenic. Now, enough of that. If you want more, you got to show up. Show up. You got to earn it.
Can I just ask one question?
If I give you one question, I have to give everybody one question. I know, Pastor, I'm going to give you one question because you're going to be able to use this tomorrow. Yes, Pastor.
I just want to go back to the problem solving situation. Does seeing the problem automatically solve the problem?
Yes.
And if it doesn't, then how does the problem get solved?
Just seeing it.
Just seeing it.
The sheer act of sin, when you have perfectly observed reality and perfectly understood and seen this, that understanding and seeing simply allows you to stand free. Standing free becomes natural.
In other words, face it.
You simply transcend it. You see it and respond appropriately. We're going to come into that probably after lunch. In the initial workshop, I tend to try to give you a framework so that when we go into the rest of the series, we can begin to move along. We can click, right? But I want to just ground you in the fundamental framework. But you're right on point, you see. You don't solve problems, they simply dissolve out of this scene. They simply cease being a problem.
Is there a limitation? If you got a child abuser, first you have to get him to see that he is a child.
Sure,
right?
you got to first be able to break through. So what happened is this, is that to get to the practices associated with seeing, I call those are the set of spiritual practices. That's a spiritual thing. Seeing, dhyana, meditation is a spiritual thing. So that means you must be at least developed to the point of being capable of engaging in a spiritual process. But usually the case is, with the average person, is that they're not sane enough to be seen. They are psychotic, borderline, psychoneurotic, suffering from rule and role pathology, script pathology, identity neurosis, and all of that must be built up in them. They must be moved through those developmental stages and brought to the condition of sanity, which is called normalcy. And now you become normally neurotic, right? But when you become normally neurotic, you just halfway through the journey of being a human being. Are you following me? When you get normal, now we're ready to take the journey to your divine dimension, right? But that journey begins by first becoming normal, sane, right? And part of the Hop Dharma is aimed at bringing people to this state of sanity. Pastor, most of my energy is involved in just helping those who have resorted to me to get straight, to simply become sane, to shed off all of their ego mythology, self-deception, to somehow put Humpty Dumpty back together again because they are fragmented. They suffer from ego deficit disorders. They don't have any kind of strong, solid sense of self at all. They're fused and confused.
So gang members will be
Fused and yeah, you see exactly where they're at, right? So let's move on. Let's move on because we got a lot. It's a fascinating consideration to enter into, and I do hope you all will join us when we begin to offer that series. Moreover, I hope that you all, once understanding it, will become an agency of the dissemination of that understanding in our communities. So those opportunities also will be made available to some of you who are interested. In any case, these are the two propositions that we have looked at thus far. We have seen the condition of the human existence as being dukkha. This is the dilemma of human beings. We have seen how this feeling of suffering is arising in association with our desiring and wanting things to be other than they are. Therefore, if you have seen this far, then now you can see that dukkha can be brought to an ending. That's the revelation. When you see this, now you see, oh, now you see dukkha. If dukkha is being created by me and my wrong desiring that is arising out of a wrong view of reality, if this desiring is my own activity, and it is my own activity, nobody else is desiring for me but me, right? And because it is mine, therefore I can bring this mechanism to an end in myself and stand free. Right? This is the gospel. This is the good news that Jesus brought in the Jesus Dhamma. Right? It is the Islam that Muhammad brought. You see? The peace. The way to peace. It is the Buddha Dhamma. It is the basis of Advaita Vedantism. It is the devakut and clinging to peace of Judaism. It is the ma'at condition of your ancestors. This is the way. But you must see this. Because if you haven't seen this and seen this, you will not have this revelation. This revelation is a turning point in your life. When you are able to see that something happens, it's like you sit straight up out of a dream. You see? It's a very different experience. A very different experience. When you begin to see that the suffering and the problems are being generated out of your own mechanism of desire, and you see that that can be brought to an end, then you are ready to be taught the fourth principle, the way to bring all this suffering to an end. Because here you can see, yes, if I could somehow stand free of this desiring mechanism, I will be free. But you don't know the way to bring the desiring mechanism to an end. And as the great Asaf Patahotep says, because you, like everybody else, was not born wise, therefore the need for a teacher. But you must simply first realize you're simply not wise. If you were wise, you would not be suffering. Please understand me. I don't want no confusion here. Give it up. This mythology you have created about you being wise. If you are so wise, then why are you so miserable? You so wise, why you still got these 84 problems? It is only because you are not wise in the real sense of the word. You are informed. You read a lot of books, attended a lot of lectures, have a lot of data, a pretty good memory. You see, blah, 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 blah. But fundamentally, you are ignorant of the way out of your condition. And that's all that counts. Is bringing this dukkha to a close. Now this is so. Now this is so. So we will spend some time the rest of the workshop, if you don't mind, and getting into this piece of it. But before we take a lunch, let's make sure that you all have followed me thus far and have appreciated the arguments and understand the consideration that I want you to enter into. But you begin to see and become convicted at this stage, 3, that this suffering can be brought to an end, can be extinguished. In Buddhism, in classical Buddhism, they have called the extinguishing of this suffering nirvana. Right? Classical Hinduism, they have called it moksha. Right? In the West, we have called it salvation. Enlightenment. You see? In ancient times, we have called it becoming usaha. Right? And so forth and so on. But the terminology is all the same. Or devakut. Doesn't make it. It is really a strange thing. It's like this, beloved. And at the risk of using a metaphor and warning you that no metaphor is ever identical. It is similar to whatever it points to. I want you to try to get a feel for the changes that come over you when you are really, truly, for the first time in your life, able to locate the very foundation and ground of this mechanism generating this and seeing it. It's like, imagine if you were dreaming. I use this example often. And you were dreaming that, and I'm not the artist, the law is the artist. You see? If you dreamed that you was on a tightrope and you're walking across the Niagara. Now you're dreaming this. And while dreaming this, you are terrified. Are you not? Because in the dream, things feel real. No. Or in your ordinary state of dream, whatever is happening feels as real as what's happening right now. Have you noticed? Yes. You're not able to challenge the reality of it. It feels real. So when you're in a state of dream, and you're on this tightrope, walking across an area, it feels real. And the danger, therefore, feels real. And you're screaming, you're terrified, because one slip, right, one misstep, and I will plunge into the abyss to my death. Great terror is there. But there is another kind of condition between dream and wakefulness that is called lucid dream. Are you all familiar? Yeah. And in a lucid dream, the realization somehow is there that this is is not real, right? I'm just dreaming this. I'm making this stuff up, right? Seeing that, what happens to your terror from the previous condition? It's gone, isn't it? Are you afraid anymore? Nope. In fact, you might run back and forth on the rope. You might jump up and down. It makes no difference if you fall. When you falling is also unreal. The death is unreal. All of it is unreal. And you see it. And you standing free. It is just like that at the waking level of consciousness. There is a level of consciousness right above this that renders all of your concerns at this level of consciousness as being made up of the same stuff that dreams understand. Now this is something. The fourth principle is the way to access that level of seeing. So we will begin to set that discussion up, and hopefully we will continue it after lunch. There is a real process that has to be engaged, that you have to become involved in, that is not metaphysical, that is not philosophical, that is not armchair. You understand? It cannot be accessed over coffee and tea in casual discussion. You can't buy it in a bookstore. You will not find it in any book, not even my books. You must engage in the ordeal of self-transformation. The problem with problems is that they are connected to the condition of consciousness and stage of development that you are in. Therefore, the only way to most ultimately deal with them is to cease being in that condition. Are you following me? This was my argument. Because I don't want to give you any illusions. You remember, brother, we were looking for, well, what can I do in this condition? Right? To alleviate it. And I'm simply telling you, you can't, by definition, do anything in that condition. And you must see this. You must become convicted of this. Because that conviction is required in order to engage the process of self and God realization. If you don't have that conviction about it, then you will not be able to embrace the process. You will be reluctant. You see? Resistant, because you still thinking there's a way out of your dilemma available to your thinking mind, your rational mind. You're still trying to come up with a strategy, right? You have not seen that every single time you have solved a problem, another one arose. You simply have not seen that. Well, what can I do? What can I do? You must see that. You must look. But if you refuse to look, then there's simply no hope for you. I have found in my years of teaching that the average person cannot expand their belief system greater than 5%. That's it. You're capable, usually, of only expanding your view, your way of seeing and looking at things by 5%. Because you are so invested in your own mythology. You see, strategies. You're just terrified to let them go, thinking that it works. It don't work. But it doesn't work like this. That's the point. And I'm just calling you to be just radically honest. Simply see, it has not worked. See it. And this seeing then becomes necessary in order to have the conviction. So the very first thing is that you must have right view, as it is called in some of the traditions, particularly in the Buddhist tradition. Vidya, knowledge. Right view is the same as knowledge. You must have knowledge. Gnosis, so forth and so on. You must have this. This is the beginning. Now this is where this way that I offer you differ a little bit from other ways. Because other ways say, well, you do A, then B, then C, then D, then E, then F, and then you get knowledge. No. It simply does not work like that. No. You must start with knowledge, and then A, B, and C are the unfoldment of that knowledge through time. Are you following me? Yes, sir. Are you following me now? Yes, sir. You simply must begin with right view. There is no way to engage the sadhana, the spiritual disciplines associated with the ordeal of awakening, of enlightening, of self and God realization without beginning in the right view. You must simply see. And the most difficult part of the whole process is trying to help people to see that which is perfectly obvious. And this is amazing. You're looking in a book and racking your brain trying to see something that is right before your face. I mean, do you understand the absurdity of it all? You're trying to find truth as if truth is lost. Truth is not lost. Truth is always already the case. Is that about right? You're trying to think yourself into a condition where you can access reality. Reality is always the case. You are standing in it. It is perfectly obvious. It is perfectly obvious. You simply must see it. And get your mind out of daydreaming. Right? Get your head up out of books. I'm not against books. But one should not worship books.
Making an idol.
One should not make an idol unto them. You see? You must see. So it begins with the right view. The right view is made up of some very specific capacities. Now, many of you have already heard these arguments to some degree. But I want you not to deprive anybody else of hearing them fresh like you did for the first time. So don't shout out answers, all right? Okay, resist it, resist it. All right. Now, right view. What are some of the things that are required for having right view? What is the first condition, the first thing that you must become capable of? And attain the right view. What must you become capable of seeing?
Being truthful. Being honest.
Well, okay, you can be honest and truthful. Okay. Honest. You're a house person. The very condition necessary in order to attain right view is what? Well, of course, you have to accept what you see. Right? Remember, right view is about seeing it. Right. Seeing things, what? Don't you know you're a house person? I want to give our guests a chance to luxuriate in this workshop. Yes, ma'am? Being humble, that might be a reaction to seeing. Yes, brother?
To allow yourself to be able to be receptive.
To be receptive to what you see, acceptance? Yes.
Don't sensationalize.
Not to sensationalize, dramatize. What is most fundamental that you must see?
That problem.
True.
Okay, let me restructure. What is it that you must see about reality in order to be in the right view of that reality? Seeing it for what it is? Now, how is it? Okay? Adamo, right? Adamo Sanintano, right? That's the goal, isn't it? We want to see how reality really is. You're right. Because how can we get a right view of reality without seeing, looking at it, right? But what is, or how is reality? What are are the characteristics of reality?
It's
Darlene?
right here, right now.
Hmm?
Living is right here, right now.
That reality only happens right here, right now, in the present. Right? Reality is always present. It's never past. It's never future. In fact, past and future are being conceived where? In the present. Even when you think about the past, where are you standing? And when you anticipate the future, where are you standing?
In the present.
So the present is the context of every time. Hence, it has been called eternal. The eternal now. It's one of the chief characteristics of the nature of reality. What are some of the other things pertaining to the events that are arising in reality? The things that you see going on in the context that is called reality, what do you notice about them? What must you see? If you see it, what are you seeing? If you saw reality and the things occurring in reality, what would be some of that observation? Come on, folks, you're in reality. Now you claim you've been bragging. You got kids and students and jobs and employees. And you always telling them how much you know what's going on. I want to know what you know that is going on now.
Okay.
Do you really know what's going on?
When you see some doubt,
Doubt? Well, you can have doubt. What is it that you see that characterizes the nature of the events that are occurring in reality?
Most of those things are going to occur regardless of what you do or don't.
Oh, I like you, Kenneth. Finally, we got another seer here. It took these other rascals a long time. You're a big group. Right. One of the first things you realize that you are not the doer. Right? The you that you have been identifying yourself as, the ego you, the ego self, the ego sense of self, the volitional self, is doing nothing. First thing you see. Blow your mind, doesn't it? Because you've been thinking you are doing something. But when you really stand back and look, you're not doing anything. Events are simply arising, right? Dependently so. Driven by the law of cause and effect. You see? Event A is producing event B, producing event C, producing event D, and so on to infinitum, across that entire spectrum of possibilities. Is that about right? And the volitional self is doing nothing. It is astounding when you see that. Now when you think about it, reason about it, hear me talk about it, it don't make no transformation in you. Because you're not seeing anything, right? You're hearing about it, right? Hearing about the Dhamma and seeing that is a very different process. But you're right. One of the things you will see is that the volitional ego self is not doing one single. You begin to see it first at the level of your body. You're not breathing it. You're not circulating its blood. You're not metabolizing food. You're not digesting nothing. You're not dividing cells. You're not making synapses and neurons. The volitional you, ego, the thing that thinks it's a doer of things, is not doing nothing. The great mystic Jesus says you are not even capable of changing one hair. Period. There's a power, a process going on that is determining whether even a leaf falls from a tree. and it don't have nothing to do with your little ego self. In fact, it itself has created the ego in you. Now we're getting too far. You have to go read one of them books back there. You have to break down and buy something. All right. In any event, that's one of the things that you see. What else do you see about the nature of events? Because this is something you see about yourself, right? In your relationship to the states and objects of the self, right? But what about the objects, the perceptual objects of the self, the event, the very things that are going on in the domain of reality? What are the nature of those things? Yes, Mr. Bhagwan.
What it is what it is.
What it is what it is, all right? I put it another way. You don't know. You don't know what one single thing is. And it is what it is. And you don't know what it is. Now, this is profound. Now, this is profound. This is profound. You got to go sit with this thing. You see my point? You got to go get in a corner somewhere, right? You got to get with it. I mean, you got to be with it. You got to pull it into yourself and let it incubate in you. Bring it into your womb and let it stay there until it grows and matures and can be manifest in your life. Because what you said is profound. You really begin to see that you really don't know what one single thing really is. It simply is what it is. You also begin to see, shortly thereafter, that you don't know where one single thing came from. Is that all right? You really don't. You don't know how any of this stuff has come into existence. You really don't know. You really do not know. Even the physicists confessed that ignorance. And they have confessed it after trying for centuries to answer that riddle of the universe in its origin. And they have concluded, after a hard-nosed scientific investigation, we don't know where it came from, nor do we know where it's going. Okay? You really don't know. You come now into a state of divine ignorance. Because that divine ignorance is higher than any other kind of knowledge you've been claiming. Up to that point. Are you following me? It is divine ignorance because it frees you now from that whole process of making up stuff about it. That brings Maya making to an end. You don't presume and project nothing. You simply accept and respond to how things actually are. You drop all your presumptions. You find that all that little knowledge you have been accumulated, all your little theories, assumptions, presumptions, stuff you read, heard, you understand? Nothing. You really don't know. You also discover, even in the moment, Brother Dave, you discover shortly thereafter that not only do you not know what a single thing is, you don't even know who you are. That's when you're ready. Understand? Now you're ready. Right? You'll find out you don't even know who you are. You really don't. You don't know who you are. Where you came from. Nothing. And religion, spirituality, and all of these things is simply the effort to find an answer to this question. Who am I? And to locate you in time, space, and to inform your relationship to the perceived others. It is the basis of knowledge, or absence of knowledge, or divine ignorance. What else Did you notice this?
But I just want to ask, doesn't fear come out of the fact that you don't control anything?
Yeah, but that is something that we have to correct through the culture of psychotherapy. You see, the culture of psychotherapy and psychiatry has as its aim the conquest and overcoming of all phobias, neurotic and otherwise, right? So if fear is still there, then you need to be helped psychologically, psychiatrically. You're not ready for the sadhana at this level. It's all right, you know what I mean? It doesn't mean that you got to go back and get this fear, because fear is based on the presumption that you have knowledge of something. I know something bad gonna happen. Now, you don't know anything, bad or good. You simply do not know. Fear is the presumption that you know something bad is about to happen, and then you respond to that presumed knowledge of that which brother have pointed out very eloquently, that you don't know anything about. You don't know what will occur in the next minute. You really don't. But you have so many presumptions about it. But the reality, when we check, right, brother? When we check closely, you really find out we really don't know what's going to even take place in the next nanosecond. You really don't know. You can have presumptions about it, of course, theories about it, but the reality is you really don't know. But when I mistake my presumptions about it for knowledge, then I respond to the story, the narrative. Fear arises out of the narrative that you make about events and possible. So you see, David, it is a kind of work that has to be really engaged. First, getting rid of all of the kinds of phobic and other conditioned materials intrapsychically to get you able to expand beyond that 5%, right? Because some people say, well, I don't care what you say in Bhagwan, I know that I know something. See, they can't even, those are your 1%ers. I'll listen to you, it's entertaining, but man, hey, you know what I mean? I know what I'm doing. I know what stuff is. And I ain't miserable either. I don't agree with you about all this miserable stuff. I'm not miserable. The 1%ers. What else do you notice about things going on in the domain of reality? I have to let a house person answer that so we can go to lunch. House person, give me an answer. Yes, Bharataji?
They come and go. They durate, they go.
Right. That they are impermanent. They arise, durate, and cease. They are impermanent, transcendental, temporary, changing. You must see the changing and temporary nature of all events that are arising in the domain that you are calling reality. And check it out. See for me during your lunch period. You go find it for me. If you can find one event that is occurring in the domain of your awareness, in reality, that is permanent and non-transitory and transient. See if you can find it. Go ahead. Look for it. Look high and low. In fact, you must exhaust the search. You must become absolutely convicted of this. You must see this thing. Until you see it, you will not stop grasping at it, trying to hold on to it. Your tendency would always be involved in the pathology of attachment, trying to make something permanent that by nature can never be permanent. That kind of error that results from the inability to see is the basis of a lot of your suffering and the problems you are having. Trying to keep things from changing. How will you do that? How are you going to do that? How will you stop reality from phasing through changing? You are only attempting it because you cannot see. You have a wrong view of reality. And in fact, you are attached to your wrong view. So in many cases, when you attach your own view, you can't even be helped. No Buddha can help you. No Muhammad, no Jesus, no Kabir, no Ptahotep, no Kajana, no saint, no guru, no master. Nobody can help you. You see? If you were alive during Jesus' time, you would simply not have listened to him, because he would have been articulating this tongue. Had you lived in the times of the Buddha, you would have not been with the Buddha. Trust me. You would have been throwing stones at the Buddha, because he would be shaking you up. You could not have hung with the prophet. And it's mark. You understand? You can't do Islam. You have to understand. You have to understand this thing. You got to get serious or be made serious about it. And some of the problem is that you simply are not serious about it. Part of the function of satsang, these kind of gatherings that we're having here, where we are coming together and exploring and seeking the truth about it, its purpose is to make you serious about it. Enlightenment is not a joke. It is not a class like Psychology 101. Okay. You understand? It is not even a belief, because belief don't transform nobody. Beliefs console. That's its function. Belief helps console you from your doubt. Belief is a mechanism of suppressing doubt. It helps you function in the absence of knowledge. It doesn't lead to anything. It is like a drug. It helps anesthetize you and temporarily give you some relief from your otherwise very profoundly dissatisfying condition. And that is all. It has its use. It's better than shooting dope. So I'm not against it. Right? In fact, I recommend it from time to time. There's a therapeutic alternative to drugs. But still understand, its function is the same as that it works. It's to pacify you in your psychotic condition, because, you know, there ain't enough of development in you, right, to hear the Dharma. It's a custodial strategy. In any case, you see, you're right for right as you begin to notice the impermanent nature of things. You begin to see that the inherent condition and circumstance of manifest existence is one of continuous change. Just this pure flux, this cycling between pairs of opposites. And the bewilderment of all of that. Now it is so. Go and see it.